Okay, so let's dive in. You know that feeling, end of the month, the bills just land. Like a ton of bricks, right?
Oh, yeah.
Rent, streaming, that internet bill that somehow just creeps up every few months. It's a juggling act, we all know.
Definitely.
But when you're looking at that pile, which one bill, if you pay it late, has the power, like the real power, to throw your finances into a spin?
Good question.
You might immediately think rent. I mean, that feels urgent, and it is. But what we're digging into today is, maybe surprisingly, why your credit card bill actually holds that unique kind of sneaky power.
That's exactly right. Sneaky is a good word for it because, look, all bills need paying, obviously. But the credit card, it plays by different rules. We're not just talking about, a little penalty fee.
Yeah.
The consequences can ripple out and really affect your financial life for years sometimes.
Right.
So for everyone listening, our mission today in this deep dive is to really shed light on the often hidden impact and, the real risks tied to that plastic card.
Hidden impact.
Yeah, that nails it. It feels so harmless until suddenly it isn't. Okay, let's start with the immediate stuff, the sting. You miss the due date, bang, a late fee.
Yep, instantly.
And these aren't tiny fees either. Usually, like $25 to $40 in that ballpark?
Typically, yeah. Sometimes even a bit more, depending on the card agreement and if you've been late before.
Think about what that is. That's a decent pizza order gone right there.
Yeah.
But like you said, that's really just the opening act, isn't it?
Absolutely, just the tip of the iceberg. Because what often follows is much more damaging. We're talking about the interest rate hike, the penalty APR.
Yes, the dreaded penalty APR.
And it's kind of shocking how fast and how high it can jump. You could be cruising along at, say, 16%, which is already significant.
Sure.
And then, boom, you miss a payment, and suddenly you're looking at maybe 29.99%. It feels, well, extreme.
Yeah, it does. I remember one source called it something like legal robbery in a suit. Huh? Yeah, that sounds about right. Because it fundamentally changes the game on any balance you carry. It's written into the fine print. Those penalty clauses triggered by late payments.
Legal robbery in a suit. Still resonates. And okay, this isn't happening in isolation. That late payment, it also takes a direct shot at your credit score.
Oh, a major shot, yeah.
So for anyone maybe newer to this, your credit score is basically your financial reputation snapshot, like a grade for how you handle debt.
Exactly. It's kind of like your financial Tinder profile, as one analogy put it. It gives lenders and others a quick first impression.
That really sticks because it's the first thing they look at for so many things.
It really is. A good score is crucial for getting loans, mortgages, even renting an apartment. Sometimes it affects insurance rates or even, believe it or not, job applications in certain fields.
Wow, okay.
And just one late payment reported to the bureaus can knock that score down noticeably. Payment history is actually the single biggest piece of your score. It matters a lot.
So one mistake, can actually hurt your chances later on. And the scary part, I think, is how long that mistake hangs around. We found it can stay on your credit report for, 7 years?
Up to 7 years, yeah. That's a long time. Think about reality TV marriages. Some don't even last that long.
Good point.
But seriously, it underlines the long-term nature of this. And if you are carrying a balance when this happens, well, then you run into compound interest working against you.
Right, the interest on the interest.
Precisely. It starts adding up on itself. Someone described it like your debt is having baby debts.
Ooh, that's a chilling image. Baby debts.
It is. But it paints a picture of how quickly that balance can balloon, making it much harder to pay off.
It really shows how fast things can spiral, which I guess brings us to this idea of the credit card as a kind of silent killer.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's just so easy to use, right? Swipe, tap, done. It's part of our routine. But misused, well, it turns into, what was the phrase? Financial chainsaws?
Financial chainsaws, yeah. Because the ease of use masks the potential damage. Someone might think, it's just a few days late. What's the real harm? They maybe only focus on that initial fee.
Right.
But understanding the whole sequence, what happens after you miss the due date, that's absolutely critical.
Okay, so paint that picture for us, day by day, week by week. What actually happens when that deadline passes?
Okay, so days 1 to 29, you get hit with the late fee, like we said, and interest starts piling up immediately on whatever balance you have. But a really key thing here is you often lose your grace period.
The grace period. Explain that quickly.
That's the time between when your statement closes and the payment is due. If you pay in full during that time, usually you don't pay any interest on new purchases.
Yeah.
Miss a payment. That grace period can just vanish Poof, gone. Monday morning motivation.
Ha! Okay, so even if I pay my next bill in full and on time, I might still get hit with interest charges from the previous month because I lost that grace period.
That's often exactly how it works, yeah. It takes time, sometimes several on-time payments, to get it back.
Wow. Okay, so that's up to day 29. What happens at day 30?
Day 30 is usually the big one. That's when the credit card company is likely to report your delinquency to the credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion.
And that's when the credit score takes the hit.
That's when it becomes official on your record. And like we talked about, that penalty APR, it can kick in around now too, making everything much more expensive going forward. It's that moment where, your future self silently screams at your present self.
My future self is definitely having some words with my present self just listening to this. It makes you wonder, though, why it's so easy to think, it's just one bill, I'll catch up next month. Why do we procrastinate on this one?
Well, I think it often boils down to how immediate the consequences feel. The landlord calling feels very direct, very urgent. A potential dip in your credit score feels more abstract, maybe, further away.
Yeah, less tangible.
Exactly. The late fee is annoying, sure, but the long-term impact on your borrowing power, that feels distant. It's just human nature, isn't it? Prioritizing the fire that seems closest.
It reminds me of that analogy we saw. Ignoring the credit card bill is like ignoring a smoke alarm because the beeping is annoying.
Perfect analogy.
That irritation, that fee, it's actually signaling a potentially much bigger problem you need to address.
Precisely. And this helps explain why, when we talk about immediate, severe, and widespread financial fallout, a late rent payment, while serious, often doesn't pack the same instant punch to your overall financial profile as a late credit card payment.
Okay, but let's be super clear here. We are absolutely not saying it's okay to pay rent late.
Oh, absolutely not. Consistent late rent has huge consequences. Right. Eviction, trouble renting elsewhere, collection accounts. It's bad news. We're talking specifically about the immediate credit score impact. That's the key difference in this context.
Right. Prioritization if things get really tight. So what makes rent different in that specific way?
It mainly comes down to reporting habits. Most individual landlords, or even many larger property management companies, don't immediately report a single late payment to the big three credit bureaus.
Okay.
They'll charge you a late fee, absolutely, and they might start hassling you, but it usually doesn't trigger that automatic credit score drop the way a 30-day late credit card payment does.
So one late rent payment, while definitely not good, probably won't automatically trash your credit score in the same swift way.
Generally, that's correct. Now, if it goes unpaid for months and ends up in collections, that's a different story. But the initial hit is usually less severe from a credit score perspective.
Got it. And there's maybe more room to talk to a landlord?
Often, yes. Especially if you have a good payment history, you might be able to negotiate a bit, explain the situation. Same with utility companies sometimes, credit card companies. They tend to be much more automated and, less flexible about reporting delinquencies once you hit that 30-day mark.
Less wiggle room, faster reporting. Okay. Let's make this really concrete. Give us an example with numbers to show the true cost.
Okay, let's try one. Say you have a $1,000 balance on your card. Your interest rate is 20%. Not great, but manageable maybe?
Okay.
You miss a payment, bam, $35 late fee. And let's say your APR jumps to that penalty rate, would be 29.99%.
Ouch.
Now, if you only make the minimum payment, let's say it's $35 a month, you're in for a world of hurt. Because of that super high interest rate, almost all of your minimum payment is going just to cover interest.
So the actual $1,000 balance barely goes down.
Exactly. It could literally take you years and years to pay off that original $1,000. And by the time you do, you might have paid double, maybe even triple that amount just in interest and fees.
Wow.
It's like that other phrase we saw, congratulations, you just bought the world's most expensive sandwich or burrito or whatever that $1,000 was for.
The world's most expensive sandwich that just keeps costing you money every single month. Okay, the risks are crystal clear. So for our listeners, what can they actually do? What are the practical steps to avoid this mess?
Okay, good news is there are definitely effective strategies. Number one, I'd say, is automation, auto pay.
Right. Set it and forget it.
Well, set it and maybe check it, but yes. Set up automatic payments for at least the minimum amount due. That's your safety net. It protects you from late fees and that immediate credit reporting ding.
Minimum payment. Okay. That's the baseline defense.
It is. Ideally, you'd automate the full statement balance if you can swing it, because that avoids interest entirely. But minimum payment autopay is like having a loyal financial assistant who never forgets.
Takes human error out of it. What else?
Reminders. Don't rely on just one. Set alarms on your phone, put a sticky note on your monitor, use calendar alerts, whatever it takes. Maybe even get a screaming parrot if that's your style.
Whatever breaks through the noise. What about fitting it into the bigger financial picture?
Budgeting is key. Frameworks like the 50-30-20 rule can help 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% savings and debt. The crucial part is to classify that credit card payment firmly in the needs category.
Right. Non-negotiable. Treat it like rent or utilities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And understand your billing cycle. Know when your statement closes and when the payment is due. That grace period we talked about.
Yeah.
Learn how to use it. Pay in full before the due date, and you basically get an interest-free, short-term loan every month.
That's a huge benefit if you manage it right.
It really is. And one last thing. Maybe don't juggle too many cards. The more you have, the easier it is to lose track and miss a payment on one. It's like juggling chainsaws. Back to that analogy. Risky.
Solid, actionable advice. Now let's touch on that oops, I forgot moment again. There was that funny but kind of painful scenario sketched out.
Yeah, the burrito scenario. You make a small slip up, miss the payment by a day. Your internal reaction might be, darn it, oh well.
Right. Minimal panic, maybe.
But the credit card company's system, it doesn't shrug. It often triggers that whole cascade, the fee, the potential APR hike, the clock ticking towards credit reporting.
Yeah.
It's like the source joked, you just wanted to buy a burrito, and then bam, skull emoji, financial consequences incoming. It just highlights how disproportionate the fallout can feel for a small mistake.
The burrito betrayal. A good reminder. And it's not just about dodging the negatives, right? Having a good credit score actually opens doors.
Oh, massively. A strong score is like a financial superpower, almost. It gets you lower interest rates on big purchases like cars and houses. That saves you serious money over time.
Okay.
It makes it easier to get approved for apartments, sometimes even get better insurance rates. And like we mentioned, some employers check credit as part of background screenings.
So that one late payment doesn't just cost you fees and interest. It can actually limit your options down the road.
Exactly. It can start to slam those doors shut like a cranky librarian, making things harder and more expensive later on.
Okay, so if there's one single takeaway from this whole deep dive, it really has to be, when those bills pile up, prioritize that credit card payment. Like, really prioritize it.
That's the core message. It's not always about the dollar amount being the highest. It's about the reach of the consequences. That late payment echoes through your credit report and impacts so many other areas of your financial freedom.
Makes sense. Okay, let's wrap up with a quick bonus recap. The essential tips.
Let's do it.
First up, credit card bills hit your credit score fast if you're late.
Yep. Meanwhile, rent, while crucial, usually isn't reported quite as aggressively for an occasional slip.
So set up auto pay for at least the minimum, or use a ton of reminders. Your future self will thank you.
Definitely. Remember, late fees plus that penalty APR equals serious wallet pain. Debt grows fast.
Always pay at least the minimum. But the real goal, pay the full balance every month if you possibly can.
That's the golden rule for avoiding interest. And finally, if you are struggling, don't just hide. Talk to your credit card company. Ask about hardship programs. Communication can help.
Excellent summary. Okay, so here's a final thought for everyone listening. Just take a second and think about your own system, your own habits. Where does that credit card bill really sit in your monthly priority list right now? And after hearing all this today, maybe ask yourself, is that where it should be? It's worth considering, because that little piece of plastic, it holds way more power over your financial future than you might think.